Major funding for Hitting the Road is provided by Overstock.com.
Overstock.com has launched pet adoptions.
Every year, 8 million animals are placed into adoption centers across the United States.
Our pet adoptions bring homeless animals all together in one place,
allowing you to search using the technology that powers Overstock.com.
Additional funding provided by General Atomic Sciences Education Foundation, the Calm Foundation, Delta Solutions and Strategies, Gray Line of Colorado, Northrop Grumman, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
You may have heard it said that one man's trash is another man's treasure. Well, today we're going to meet a man who treasures your trash. I'm Donna Vesey, your adventurista. Stick around, because on this episode of Hitting the Road, we're going dumpster diving for a house.
I'm hitting the road again. Got adventure crawling under my skin. Going places that I've never been. I'm hitting the road. I'm hitting the road again. Gonna take along all of my friends. Living life like there's just no end. I'm hitting the road. Feeling better since I don't know when. I'm hitting the road.
Earth. It's our home, and it's the only one we've got so far. Learning how to live sustainably is the key to living responsibly on our planet. What if I told you there was a really down-to-earth way to live without relying on others for water or power or food? And it could even help you survive the end of the world. No, it's not some reused Hollywood plot. It's a style of home that really makes the most of its surroundings and recycles the way you'll look at going green without reducing any of your creature comforts. Well, I hit the road to meet some of these people who are doing just that and living very well. Michael Reynolds, founder of Earthship Biotecture, is a true visionary, making beautiful houses with everything we've come to expect in our daily lives, and they are completely self-sustaining, starting from the ground up.
40 years ago, 45 years ago, I was just responding to the world around me, and I'm a young kid in my 20s, out here trying to make a life for myself, and I'd say, well, you know, it doesn't make sense to build houses out of trees because we seem to need trees on this planet. But if there are beer cans being thrown all over the place and we don't need them, maybe let's look at building with beer cans and not trees. I mean, it's just that kind of a thing, which seemed logical. So in the early 70s, I built a house out of beer cans and, you know, was called a freak for it. Up until now, even, to go green or sustainable or whatever everybody calls it these days is more expensive, is something people wear a badge for doing. You know, I sacrificed and I'm going green. It can't be that way. Going green, or whatever you want to call it, going in the direction of logic on this planet has got to be the easiest path. And we're learning how to do that, and I think that's our biggest lesson. Learning how to make buildings heat themselves, learning how to catch water, learning how to make energy, learning how to treat sewage, that was all fun. Learning how to make that both palatable and the easiest way for people has been the hardest part. I built the first beer can house in like 1971 or 2, and that led to developing and evolving all of this. And the first one that I actually called an Earthship was built in about 27 years ago. That was the first one we actually called an Earthship. Before that, they were called pit houses and things like that. But when we first brought the word Earthship into view was 27 years ago. I built one and I called it an Earthship. And that began this Earthship sort of movement thing that is happening now.
About 3 decades ago, we started trying to figure out how we could help the environment. And one of the biggest things that we've done is build with used automobile tires. So the entire body of this building right here is all tires. You can't see them because they're rammed with earth with sledgehammers, then they're packed out, and then we plaster. So there's a couple of inches of material over the tire, then it's buried from behind, then there's insulation and vapor barriers. So we entomb the tire. So it's not a health risk to live inside of a tire structure. It's much more risk to the environment not dealing with them in the way that we do it.
Originally, I didn't know that I wanted to live in an Earthship. I just wanted a house that was sustainable, and I wanted to have solar power, and I wanted to collect my own water, and I wanted a gray water system.
The main reason was to get off the grid, and to challenge myself to see if I could really do this.
Well, I don't know if everyone should live in an Earthship, but I think they should take the 6 principles of Earthships, things that Earthships do, and try to incorporate it in maybe traditional architecture. It could alleviate some of the pressure on the infrastructure of, different cities. Earthships are pretty cool, though. They're fun to live in, and they're beautiful. You live with plants, and it heats and cools itself naturally, and it's just it's a pretty liberating way to live.
Oh God, who doesn't want to be off the grid? It's just what we need to do. I believe that we as human beings have got to get it together and get off fossil fuels, and there are ways to live without using them, and it was challenging for us to do, but we did it ourselves, and it can be done, and we're so lucky. We are so lucky to live this way.
So you are totally off the grid.
I've been off the grid for 10 years. We don't even have a grid. The only grid we have is the infrastructure that we build inside the building itself. We don't have power, water, and sewer lines coming to the community. In fact, Michael Reynolds, the founder and the architect of this community, we agreed to sign a bylaw that states that we don't tie to the grid. We are here to build a home that takes care of ourselves and protects the environment all at the same time.
A couple of years ago, I worked for the State Department Medical Corps, and so once you retire, every 2 years they have a reunion, and so it was my turn to host it, and everyone was really excited to come here, to know how the Earthship worked. They all thought it was a great idea. Whenever workmen come here, like delivering gravel or something, they'll say, "Could I see inside? Oh, this seems nice."
I was actually really surprised at the opulence of this building.
Well, this one is a demonstration, showcase type thing. The other ones that you'll see are much more simple, and you can actually see the physics and the biology even a little more. The thing we were trying to prove here, and we're always trying to prove something, is everybody thought that to be green or sustainable you had to be in a teepee out in the mountains and be a hippie or something like that. People didn't think that you could have spaces like this and it could be sustainable. So we were trying to show, look, you can have a 5-star building here and it's still absolutely sustainable. We have shown people that you don't have to live in a teepee to be sustainable. You can have flat screen TV, high-speed internet, you can have everything and be what I call logical.
In a way, I don't. I feel like we're not giving up anything because we are creating our own energy. So when my kids are on the computer and playing video games all day and just using all this power where maybe in the city you'd feel a little bit guilty, it's the power that I'm making right now and we might as well use it. So to me, it's actually better.
So do you have a computer?
Yes.
And you have a hot tub? You have hot and
Yes.
cold running water?
Yes.
You have a bathroom that is...
Has a toilet, has a shower,
Okay.
has a sink.
Hot and cold running water?
Hot and cold running water.
Oh yeah, we've got the water, the stove, the refrigerator, the internet, the lights, the stereo, computers. We have everything we need. Telephones. Yeah.
It's not that we're doing without. You can sit and watch Netflix and everything you want. You can have hot water, you can take showers. It's just that we have made it easy for people not to use much electricity. We have made it easy for people not to use much water. and then it works.
And I think that's a common misconception, is that when you live this way, you're somehow deprived. And you aren't deprived. It does mean that you make choices. And I remember when we didn't have the wind generator, and in the winter we had to be kind of careful about power. Was I going to watch a movie at 9 at night and then the next morning have my power going, you know, pretty low, waiting for the sun? And so you
don't vacuum.
Yeah, you don't vacuum at 7 in the morning either.
on cloudy days, but that's okay. You can sweep.
I only have a computer. I don't have, because that's my telephone, my DVD player, my TV, but that's my choice. I live alone, so I don't really need more than one screen.
We decided to do without the heating elements. For example, the hairdryer, the toaster. Those particular appliances suck a huge amount of energy. And so we decided, can I live without a hairdryer? I can. I stick my head in the oven periodically to dry it off in the winter, but you know.
It works.
It works.
And there's no heating element.
How many of these ships have you built?
We put out a lot of books and videos, and there's been a lot of media. We have probably built, over 1,000, and but people have built them. There's kind of a branching out of it. People are building their own without us, and that's what we want. We want people to know how to do this. We're not really interested in making this a billion-dollar business. We're interested in making this planet worth living on and making people aware of how to live on this planet without destroying it, and really having a nice life, because if everybody on the planet's having a nice life, it's a nicer place for us to be. If we could get people all over the world to understand the water and understand the power and understand the sewage and understand the shelter and the garbage, if we could get them to understand all of these things, which are no more than 8th grade physics and biology, that's what we want. We want it to be like a virus, that people get infected and start doing it, and then it could have an effect on the situation.
So how long have you lived in an Earthship?
I've been living here on this property for 18 years. My wife and I, we built a little kind of survival pod Earthship called the Hut. And we built that next door here, and we lived in that while we were getting ready to build our dream house.
We've lived here almost in the Earthship almost 20 years.
What's the best part of living off the grid?
Well, probably no bills, and just having that security that you make your own power and you make your own, kind of your own life with your own house out here, completely independent of the grid.
The best thing is that it requires no heating and no cooling. So the temperature that you feel right now is the temperature pretty much 24/7. Well, maybe it's a little cooler at night, but 365 days a year. It is warm when it's cold outside, and it's cool when it's warm outside.
Everything is so good about this place. I think for me, it's that this is what I can do to live according to my values. I can live like this, and everything around me is sort of that integrity of this is what I value, and this is how I live.
The best thing about living in an Earthship is just living with these gigantic plants and having a house that's 65 degrees on a negative 20 degree morning when everyone else is burning wood or pumping, gas heat into their house. But we're achieving that temperature, without any of that outside resource need.
That's one of the best things about this, is that it can be in the teens or below, and you walk into this house and there is not any backup heat going in this house, and it feels like the heat, the warmth just surrounds you like a blanket. It's extraordinary that the heat comes from everywhere in the mass.
Living in an Earthship is the best thing I've ever done. I love living here. There's the house and the nature sustains me. The whole yard is all xeriscaped, so it's never watered.
I would say a typical Earthship, late model, Annual utilities under $100. Total annual utility bill.
I'm just blown away by that.
Because all we do is cook with gas. And if I live if I live in one, I don't even cook with gas. I cook with solar and stuff. But to give people, I've gone through it for 45 years, so I've tried doing it radically the way I want it. But I can't use myself as a judge, as a factor there, as a gauge, because I'm a fanatic about it.
Oh, about $100 a year for propane for my stove. So everything else is pretty much independent. I have solar hot water, and my wash machine runs off the solar panel. So it's only the propane for cooking. It's the only expense.
I might pay $20 when I fill the propane tank, and then that might last seven months.
What do you pay on an annual basis?
$100
It's a pretty great feeling.
And I added a hot tub, so that's another $100 a year. So it comes to $200 a year.
So you have a hot tub and you still only pay $200 a year in utilities. That's amazing. Tell me about the process. Walk me through that process of building one of these homes.
Well, we start by beating dirt into tires for the walls. And the walls are already so wide, they're wider than the required foundation. So you basically start by laying a tire on the ground. I remember starting this building. I laid a tire on the ground and started shoveling dirt into it, and I had started a building.
Well, first of all, I get really excited because I see a tire, and what's detrimental to the environment, any other time of the day, is our favorite building material. So it's a steel belted radial, so it's pliable, it's a solid foundation block.
So where do you get your tires and your bottles and your cans?
Every city, everywhere we go, it's like I say, they are indigenous. I just came from Uruguay building a school. There was no problem getting tires, no problem getting bottles, no problem getting cans. Those things grow all over this planet.
Well, we have an arrangement with Taos County. They actually deliver tires to us now. It took me a long time to get that relationship, but now we do. They see the benefit of helping us help them. So instead of spending a lot of money with taxpayers' money on buying more land for landfill purposes or more heavy equipment to compress them or grind them up and try to recycle them in other things, they said, okay, look, we're gonna bring you a big bin. You take what you want, and then give us back what you don't want.
How many tires in a structure?
We average anywhere from 850 to 1,200 tires, depending on the overall square footage of the building. Bottles are a little more difficult because a lot of places actually pay to get them. So like when I lived in Hawaii, they have this system called High Five. At least back then they did. So they charge us, a nickel, and they give us 6 cents when you bring them back. So they recycle them, they grind them down. Here in Taos County, we grind them down, we add cinder to them, and we can spread them on the road during the wintertime. So it has some value. Each Earthship uses approximately 2,000 to 3,000 bottles. That's just like in the walls and part of the structure, not including what's left for finished product.
2,000 bottles in a structure.
Yes,
wow.
Easily.
How many aluminum cans are in a particular structure?
Well, in Uruguay, we used 8,000 cans. And so I like using aluminum cans because, one, the embodied energies in the melting it and reprocessing them are pretty toxic to the environment. So I'm still of the opinion that this is a good way to end the recycling life. It's the true recycling, when there's nothing detrimental to the environment beyond the manufacturing of that particular product. So we start off with a tire, we level the ground, and depending on where the water table is and kind of where we're building around the world, we'll put a vapor barrier in them most of the time. So we don't have a capillary effect happening. So as the water table rises up, we don't want it penetrating into the earth, and then the capillary effect feeds it to the next tire and then all the way up through the wall. That's not a good move. So we put a vapor barrier inside of them. And in this case, what we did out here in the yard is we put EPDM, ethylene propylene diene monomer. It's a scrap. We don't spend the big money for that. It's just left over from the job. We use EPDM for gray water cells to capture water, black water cells to capture black water, skirting to keep the building waterproof. So there's always a little bit of material left. So I grab it. So I grab the tire, I get excited, I grab that scrap material, that EPDM. If I don't have EPDM, if we use it all, we use plastic. You know, preferably nothing with holes because we're creating a gasket effect at the bottom of the tire. Then cement bags. We do use a lot of cement, which is detrimental to the environment, but we build with a material that's readily available all over the world. Tires, cement, gravel, steel, bottles, cans, cardboard, recycled metals, recycled windows, recycled doors. All of that is part of the process of using natural and recycled materials on every Earthship, anywhere in the world. We try to use as much indigenous building material as we can, but we try to do what we can to help clean up the environment. And the Portland bags are a big one for me personally. So I typically lay in 6 or 7 bags of cement bags that have a little residue in them. The problem with a cement bag is you can't recycle them. They have like a paper, plastic, meld kind of mix. And so you could do one or the other, but because they're put together, you can't really do anything else with them. So I pound them into the tire. And then the next step is to start shoveling in dirt. And the first process is use your feet and kick it in. And then as you can't kick any further, sometimes I'll lift the sidewall with my hand and I'll kind of push it in a little bit. So I'll lift and push it in, depending on where my strength is that day. And then I use my 9-pound sledgehammer and I'll kind of just swing at it and then push it in a little bit further, and then I'll actually swing to get the sidewall, which starts off kind of compressed. Like if you picture the sidewall like so, as you take your sledgehammer and you drive the earth, it kind of pushes up underneath the sidewall, lifting it to its final resting point. So it starts off at say 9 inches and then it pounds up to 10, 10 and a half. That makes it really solid. So you level it to itself. You know, we usually level it north and south, east and west, and then a crisscross. And it's pretty solid level. Then once it's done, I'll pound the tire right next to it and I'll pound that one up the same way and I'll level it to that finished tire. And I'll do every row the same way. So there may be 55 or 60 tires on one course. They're all the same size tire. They all respond the same way, pound up exactly the same way. Perfectly level to itself, perfectly level to the tire next to it. And once that whole course is done, then I bring in the next one. And I stagger the tire like a brick or a block. That's what gives it its strength. So they're set on the tires underneath. So you have 2 tires right here like this, and the next one sets on top. That's staggering. We pack it out. So you got your 2 tires like this, and then you have this little void right here in the front. And we'll just fill that in with like leftover cement with rock or bottles or cans, so you don't spend much money to start shaping them out and get them towards closer to finish. Here in the Southwest, we have the world's best adobe. The Native Americans here in Taos for 1,000 years have been working with adobe brick. So they basically take the existing clay right from the site itself, and they'll add a little sand, some straw, and water, and they can let it dry in the sun, and they make a brick to build the whole wall. We use tires, they use adobe brick. Well, here, this soil here in the Southwest, if you throw water on it, it becomes a brick. So what we decided to do is we basically copied exactly what they had been doing for centuries, and we make a recipe. So we do 1 part of the clay, the soil, just straight, don't need to sift it, has a little bit of rock, a little organic matter in, a little seed, doesn't matter, and then unsifted concrete sand. So it's got like an aggregate, a little pea gravel in it, and then just regular straw. So what we did outside was we took that recipe and bottles, and we just lay bottles in to save the money that we spend on, really the only expense is sand. In addition to all the other things that we do for ourselves, it is more important for us to do more for the environment, more for humanity, more for ecosystems. We are focused on being carbon neutral during the build process by natural and recycled materials, as well as recycling water and so forth. Our goal is to go beyond that and to be carbon negative. So our goal, our mission for the last 45 years is to be the world leader in self-sufficient, sustainable living, period.
There's a statement, if you can't use the byproduct, don't use the product. So it's like you can't bury your problems. You have to deal with them immediately, like the tree dropping a leaf and the leaf turns to dirt. That's just a process figured out by nature. We need to really understand nature better so that we can proceed on this planet and have a life here. Right now we're sort of arrogant, I think. Humans are arrogant and they think they can recreate nature, and that's not working too well.
It's really not hard to live a sustainable lifestyle. We've met some people who have gone to great lengths to lead ethical and sustainable lifestyles. But there are ways to make your existing home more efficient. Some simple steps to increase the green rating of your home include ensuring that your house is thoroughly insulated. Make sure that your windows aren't leaking energy. Replace old, inefficient appliances. Replace your incandescent lights with LED light. And one of the easiest and best ways? Plant a tree to shade your home.
I'm hitting the road again. Got adventure crawling under my skin. Going places that I've never been. I'm hitting the road. I'm hitting the road again. Gonna take along all my friends. Living life like it's just no end. I'm hitting the road. Feeling better since I don't know when. I'm hitting the road.
Major funding for Hitting the Road is provided by Overstock.com.
Overstock.com has launched pet adoptions.
Every year, 8 million animals are placed into adoption centers across the United States,
Our pet adoptions bring homeless animals all together in one place.
allowing you to search using the technology that powers Overstock.com.
Additional funding provided by General Atomic Sciences Education Foundation, the Calm Foundation, Delta Solutions and Strategies, Gray Line of Colorado, Northrop Grumman, and by viewers like you. Thank you.